What's going on, everybody? Well, if you watched my last video, you know I bought a new camera and I told you I'd dive into what I got and why. So here we go. Well, there's a little bit of a story behind it. So several years ago, while out on a shoot, I broke my favorite landscape lens for the Canon 6D, my full frame camera. And since then, I've just been shooting the SL3. Money is a little tight. I didn't want to replace it. And after throwing the 24 pancake on that SL3, I was having a lot of fun with such a small camera, such a small lens. Didn't feel like a brick weighing around my neck with the camera strap, and I really enjoyed it. But lately, I've been doing more pixel peeping, more looking at my old pictures, and I've been seeing a little bit of quality difference. Not so much in ISO and dynamic range, but in the color reproduction. I just felt like that full frame camera gave me a little bit better color reproduction. So I bought a new lens for the Canon 6D, secondhand used. It was a Tamron 19-35. Had it shipped to me, brought it home, threw it on the camera, and picked it up. And I didn't like that. After shooting that SL3 for so long, the 6D really felt like just a big heavy weight. I took it out, I shot it a little bit. I was really missing that flip screen on the SL3. If I wanted to take a low shot, I'd lie on the ground. And then that set me off on kind of looking at some new cameras. I haven't done that in a while. I looked at the Mirrorless a few years ago, but the lens lineup wasn't there. And I don't know, I just kind of put it to the back of my mind. But once I got this new lens on the 6D, I decided I was sending the lens back and really going to look in the new camera systems. And I decided to settle on the Canon EOS RP. This thing's almost as small as the SL3. And so far, I really like it. Some initial thoughts on that, but it has the flip screen. It's full screen. It's tiny. In fact, that's what drew me to it. Was when I was looking for cameras, I saw the lightest, smallest, cheapest full frame camera that Canon has made. And it was in right at $1,000. I got it with the 24, the 105 lens on there. But that wasn't what really sold me. What really sold me was this lens adapter that adapt all your old EF and EFS glass to the new camera. And that for me was a huge selling point. So that's what I settled on, the Canon EOS RP with the lens adapter. I've gone out, taken a few shots with it. So the things I like about this camera, the tilt screen, the image quality, I wanted full frame to be able to handle that high ISO when I do wildlife, a little bit color reproduction, a little bit better color reproduction. The lens lineup, they're coming out or have came out with a bunch of these little tiny prime lenses. And if you know me, I love little tiny prime lenses. They got a whole lineup. I'm kind of looking forward to getting them all. This is the 16 millimeter. I believe it was a 2.8. And I got this for $250, and it is sharp. I'll dive into some images on here in a minute. Like I said, that lens adapter, I keep picking it up, thinking it is the SL3. This thing's so small, and with a little lens on it, I can toss it in a big jacket pocket. So there's my likes. You know, I wasn't too concerned about megapixels. I know the RF or the Canon R series has more expensive cameras with more megapixels, but I'm really happy. This is 26.1, I think. I've been really happy with 24 megapixels. Can still shoot my T3i at 18 megapixels. I've gotten big prints all of them. More concerned with the glass that's available and technique and stuff than megapixels. So that's what I got. But that said, there are a couple things that I do not like about the camera. They're not deal breakers. I knew one of them would be the battery life. It's pathetic, like really pathetic. I could shoot my Canon 6D for probably a week on the same battery. This is more like 1.5, 2 hours. I have 3 batteries for it. I'll probably have to get a couple more. Took it out on just walking around with the 24 the 105 because it's a good walk around lens. And I'd say an hour and a half and my battery was blinking. So that I don't like. And the other thing, I don't know if you can see it on there, it's a little proximity sensor on the electronic viewfinder. It's kind of ticking me off. So I like to shoot a lot close to the body, but without turning that electric viewfinder sensor off, you can't do that because it makes your screen go black. And then if you're on a tripod and you're coming in to touch your different settings on your back screen, because there's no LCD on top of this, most of your settings you're going to do touching the tilt screen on the back. You get your hand close and it triggers that proximity sensor as well. You can go into the settings and turn the electronic viewfinder off and just use the rear screen, which I'll probably do a lot of the time. One thing I don't like is you have the custom functions where you can save your camera settings, but that's not one of the options. So if Canon would solve that problem where I could go into like my custom setting for landscapes where I'm pretty much always using the flip out screen and turn that off just by switching the C1, 2, or 3, that would be a lot better. But as it is now, you have to go into the menu each time to turn that electric viewfinder off, therefore turning off the sensor, making that blackout no longer a problem. So not a deal breaker, just a little annoying. But that said, I have taken this camera out for about a week, haven't had the best lighting conditions, but I did take some pictures and I got a few to share here. So one of the things I'm really liking is on this 24 the 105 millimeter lens, it has a really close minimal focus distance. So on the wide end it is 0.2 meters and on the telephoto end it's 0.34 meters. That's a little over half a foot on the wide end and 1.1 feet on the telephoto end, which at 105 millimeters, 1.5 feet, 7.1 would be your maximum aperture. You can get some really neat pseudo macro work. You can get some really beautiful bokeh in the background. And I handheld these macro shots and I just really like the way they look. It's one of the more fun things I've had doing with the camera since I had it, since lighting wasn't great for landscape. So we'll take a couple looks at these. Here's one. I saw this just kind of dying red leaf next to a thorny brush. And that's pretty sharp for handheld with a kit lens. It's kind of interesting photo there. And then I took this one, same thing, handheld with the kit lens. And I'm pretty happy with that. I see myself doing this more, walking around with that 24 to 105, zooming all the way in to get that beautiful bokeh and doing some of these macro shots. I had a lot of fun doing it. There's another one, just saw this green leaf laying on top of some old deader leaves and really just like the contrast and the pop there. Once again, handheld. And that is pretty sharp. I'm pretty impressed. I took this picture here. This is actually a pile of leaves I saw underwater while looking for some ducks. And I just kind of has a real ethereal look. Nothing special, but I like the kind of muted pastel colors and just the way the leaves pop from under the water. And then at 105, I got lucky enough to get close to this mallard. It's not the greatest picture, but I was just kind of doing a walkabout, having fun, testing the sharpness. And I would say that's pretty sharp. You can see the patterns in his feathers, the water droplets on his heads, the striations in his bill. And for a kit lens handheld, f7.1, that's pretty sharp. You're not going to get a real beautiful blur background with that, but all in all, I am pretty happy. I also got, as I mentioned, the 16 millimeter wide angle. Don't have a lot of practice with real wide angle lenses for landscape. I'm usually around 24 to 35, but it is something I want to master. I see some beautiful pictures taken with them where you get real close to the foreground and get, everything in focus. I did take it out and give it a shot. Went out to Angel Peak Scenic Overlook area. The lighting was super flat, so I didn't really get any great images. We did see a bunch of cattle and almost missed sunset waiting on them to go by. The wranglers were wrangling them up for the season, I guess. But here at the overlook, I just wanted to take you in here. Even though the lighting was flat, look how sharp this thing is. I mean, that's right in the middle of the frame. Getting close to the foreground with a 16 millimeters. It's going to cause some distortion. So your corners aren't super sharp if you're that close to the foreground. But man, out here in the middle, I would call that tack sharp. I really like the colors. Looks just like it did to my eye. And I'm very happy with that. So all in all, got the new RP. Loving it. A few setbacks, that proximity sensor, and the battery life. Other than that, I think it's going to be a great camera. I'm looking forward to shooting a lot more photos with it. One of the next lenses I want to get is the 100 to 400, an ultralight wildlife lens, and I'm just excited. I did have to sell off a couple cameras to get it, so the 6D is no more. I kept the SL3 for a backup. Sold the SL2, couple lenses, and I've never really done anything like that. A little nervous, still waiting on the package to show up and get my check so I can pay this thing off. But all in all, I think I'm going to be happy with moving to the mirrorless system. Really happy to have a full frame camera that is so light and so small. And I did not like, the 6D was okay if you carry it around in your hand or on a tripod, but and putting it on my neck for a walkabout, it really felt like you're just hanging a brick there. And to have something that does just as good a quality, which is what I wanted. It had to be lighter, smaller, have a tilt screen, and be just as good a quality as my Canon 6D. That's what I went for. That's what I got. And I'm going to be taking a lot more pictures with it. All right, if you guys enjoyed the video, if you're shooting with this camera, let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching.